I do.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sam Kackman, and we're going to be going through a posterior analysis. So today I'm going to have my patient. We're going to do a anterior, a lateral, and a posterior. Each of those views we're going to do from a static position, and then we're going to move into the movement, which is going to be doing an overhead squat. So first, what we have here is we have our patient, which is standing in front of you. As you can see, currently she's wearing some shoes, so I'm going to ask her to remove her shoes. So when doing a posterior analysis, you want to make sure that you're able to look at 5 key points, starting with your foot and ankle, moving up to the knees, and then you have your LPHC, which is going to be your pelvic tilt, which you'll be able to see better when you're in a lateral view, and then moving all the way up to the shoulders, and lastly your head and back. So starting with the anterior view, which is from the front, we're looking down here. So this individual has standing at roughly a shoulder width apart, and as we can see that she has a normal arch, which is good. But if she had a flat, it doesn't really matter. We can correct that based off of how she's going to be squatting. Then moving up to the knees, as you can see, normal separation. She doesn't have, from the front view, you can't see if she has any hyperextension or anything like that. Moving up further, what we're looking at is from the pelvic tilt. Again, during this view, you're not going to be able to see as much as when you can at the lateral view. And then moving up to the shoulders, we're going to be looking at if the shoulders are going to be straight across, and based off of this view, you can possibly see that her right shoulder is slightly higher than her left. So that may be something that we can correct as a deficiency, or something that may hinder her ability to do an overhead squat for later on. And also from the head and back position, another view from the anterior you can't really see, but what you want to be going off of is if there's a plumb line, which is a line going directly straight down from top to bottom. Okay, so we're going to move from the anterior view into the lateral view, so I have to face that direction. All right, so we already started with the feet. We noticed that she has natural arches, which is fine. So then moving up to the front of the knee, you could say that this is a very good posture when it coming through the knees. However, she has a slight hyperextension where her knees are a little bit further back than her thighs. Then moving up to the pelvic region, I can have you stick your arms straight out in front. Okay, nothing where there would indicate that there's too much of an anterior or a posterior tilt. So she's got pretty good straight line down, so a good plumb line. Get your arms down. Shoulders, again, from the lateral view, you can't see as much. And from the head and back position, her head is not protruding forward. So if she was to look forward like this, or round her shoulders forward, that would be an indication that she's very tight in her anterior front. So from her chest position, based off of this position, she looks pretty good. And then we're going to move to the posterior view. Okay, posterior view will be in the back. Again, feet shoulder width apart. Her ankles look good. Doesn't look like there's any mobility issues there. Moving up to the knees. No more indication that we haven't seen in the lateral and the anterior view. Okay, from the rear view, from the tilt, again, nothing more than we can see from here. Again, moving up to the shoulders, we indicated that possibly her right shoulder sits a little bit higher than the left. And then working our way up to the head and back. The top, it looks like her head and back are pretty much straight line, all the way straight down. So again, this is based off of the plumb line, looking at from the 3 different views from our posterior, turning to our lateral view, turn to the left, thank you, lateral view, and then moving back to the anterior view, which is going to be the front view. And now we'll move on to the actual exercise portion. All right, we're going to move on to the demonstration portion. So I'm going to have my patient step forward. Okay, during the demonstration portion, we're going to be executing an overhead squat. So my patient during the exercise is going to have their arms raised up above their head, elbows and arms straight, bisecting the ears, and performing it. For each movement, from the anterior, lateral, and posterior, I'm going to have them perform at least 5 reps before we move on to the next one. So starting with the anterior view. shoulder width apart. We're using a box to simulate a chair, so the individual is going to squat down, touching, and come back up. Okay, we're going to have them do it again. Okay, before I have her, I'm just going to point out, when she performs it, you can see that her feet are straight, toes pointing forward. However, whenever she squats down, her ankle begins to elevate. So I'm going to make sure that she focuses on putting her feet completely flat to the ground. So again, up, one more, down, one more. Okay. Nothing too drastic from the anterior view. Now moving to the lateral view. Okay, this time you can scoot back just a little bit. All right, we're gonna focus on the ankles as well as the hips. Okay, so squat down, up, squat down, up. Okay, so during this, there's really no drastic leaning forward or anything that's indicating that she's having trouble keeping her arms up above her head. Okay, squat down, up. There's no unnecessary arch at the back, so she looks pretty straight up and down. Okay, and one more. Okay, we don't also see any arms falling forward, so this is pretty good posture. Okay, moving to the posterior view. Okay, same thing. Individual is going to raise her arms, bisecting her ears. Okay, then squat down, up, squat down, up. Okay, one more, squat down, up, and one more. Thank you. A few things to note during the posterior view is the right hip kind of would move back. So that's one thing that we can work on, is making sure that when she's coming down, she focuses on keeping her core nice and tight and ensuring that her right hip doesn't come back or holding really tight. Her ankle movement looked pretty good in the sense of that it didn't really roll in or roll out, but I'll make my final critiques in my essay portion. And that is it. Thank you.